They say names have power, but some names are like a virus. They mutate. If you travel the Pacific Coast Highway down to San Diego, Del Mar sounds like luxury. It sounds like the ocean. But if you keep driving, if you push past the neon and into the scorched silence of the Nevada basin, that same name starts to sound like a funeral bell. I'm an urban explorer. I've spent nights in asylum basements and forgotten tunnels, but I always kept a distance. I was a spectator until I heard about the Del Mar connection. 3 locations, 1 name, and a string of deaths that didn't seem to care about the passage of time. I gave myself 7 days to visit all 3. I thought I was making a documentary. I didn't realize I was building a bridge. Day 1, the Hotel del Coronado. It's a wooden masterpiece, a red-roofed crown on the edge of the Pacific. But underneath the Victorian charm is room 3327. In 1892, a young woman named Kate Morgan checked in. She waited 5 days for a man who never showed up. On the 6th day, she was found on the stairs leading to the beach with a bullet hole in her temple. The beautiful stranger, they called her. I checked in to 3327 at sunset. The room was freezing, not AC freezing, but a bone-deep chill that felt like standing in a cellar. I set up 3 motion-activated cameras. Around 11:30 p.m., I was editing footage when the smell hit me. It wasn't rot. It was the overwhelming scent of lilies and expensive perfume. Then, the first glitch. On my monitor, I saw the hem of a black dress sweep past the corner of the bed. I looked up. Nothing. But then the bathroom light flickered. Short, long, short. Morse code? Or just bad wiring? I grabbed my EMF meter. The needle didn't just jump. It pinned to the right and stayed there. I felt a hand, cold, slender fingers rest briefly on my shoulder. I spun around, shouting. The room was empty, but the indentation on my shirt remained for nearly 10 seconds. Kate was tired of waiting for her man. She wanted someone else to stay. Day 3, 20 miles north, the Del Mar racetrack, where the turf meets the surf. Usually, it's full of shouting fans and the smell of gin. At 3 a.m., it's a graveyard. There are legends here of a phantom jockey, a man who died during a chaotic spill in the 30s. I bribed a security guard to let me walk the backstretch. The fog was so thick I could barely see my own hand. I was standing near the clubhouse when the ground began to vibrate. I thought earthquake, but it was rhythmic. It was coming from the track. I turned on my thermal camera. A massive heat signature was tearing down the homestretch. It was moving at 40 miles an hour. As it passed me, the air temperature dropped 30 degrees. I didn't see a horse. I saw a distortion in the fog, a shape that looked like muscle and fury, trailing the scent of wet earth and copper. I found a horseshoe in the dirt the next morning. It was rusted, pitted, and ice cold to the touch despite sitting in the California sun. I tucked it into my bag. That was my first mistake. You never take a souvenir from a dead man's race. Day 6. I crossed the border into Nevada. The landscape changed from blue to a jagged, hostile brown. I was looking for the other Delamar, a ghost town they called the Widowmaker. In the 1800s, this was a boom town, but the gold came at a price. The dust in the mines was jagged silica. It shredded the lungs of every man who went down. Within years, the town was filled with nothing but black-clad widows and the sound of coughing. Walking through the ruins of Delamar is like walking through a rib cage. The stones are bleached white. I set up my tent in the center of the old town square. Whispering. That night, the wind didn't howl. It spoke. I heard the horseshoe in my bag clattering against my camera gear. I opened the bag to settle it, and the horseshoe wasn't just cold anymore. It was covered in a fine white frost in the middle of the Nevada desert. I heard footsteps outside the tent, heavy, dragging steps. Then a woman's voice, the same humming I'd recorded at the Hotel del Coronado, began to drift from the mouth of a collapsed mine shaft 100 yards away. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out. The beam cut through the dust and I saw them. Not one ghost, dozens, shadows sitting on the stone foundations of their ruined homes. They weren't looking at me, they were looking at the mine. And standing at the entrance was a woman in a black Victorian dress. She held a lantern. She looked exactly like the photos of Kate Morgan, but her eyes were just holes filled with desert sand. She pointed at me, and then every shadow in that town stood up. I don't remember the drive home. I remember the speedometer hitting 100. I remember the feeling of lungs filling with dust even though I wasn't breathing hard. I'm in my apartment now. It's been 3 weeks. I thought the Del Mar connection was just a coincidence of naming. I was wrong. These places are nodes, a circuit, and by visiting all 3, I completed the loop. Last night, I woke up because I couldn't breathe. I felt a weight on my chest. When I opened my eyes, the room smelled like lilies and dry earth. I looked at my nightstand and the rusted horseshoe was sitting there. Only now, it isn't rusted anymore. It's clean, polished, as if someone has been rubbing it all night long. If you're watching this, stay away from the coast. Stay away from the track. And for God's sakes, never go to the Widowmaker. Because once the ghost of Delamar finds a new home, she doesn't like to leave.